It is 20 to 11. It is the 26th, Friday the 26th of April. It is Noel Kings' first game at Oriel Park. The atmosphere, the entertainment on show, the wearing of the jersey, the playing for the crest, the pride in the kit, the pride in the club. And never mind Castleton Bells at half time's entertainment. We're talking about Dundalk Football Club. Christopher's going to join us straight from live from the M1 coming from Ray. Chris, we sat here last week and we did on a number of occasions tonight that, we handled it. Ronan Wall actually said, the breaking news last week that we sat here around this time last week and breaking news came in and we were pessimistic to say the least. Now, albeit it's only one set of 90 minutes. But, as we put out on the Twitter tonight, the King effect, and obviously it's delighted the two boys are still with him on the sideline as well, but they've really hit the ground running here, haven't they? I mean, I know we're under the caution over the next couple of weeks that we can't just write it all down to one game, but that was the game we've been waiting for a long, long time. Chris, can you hear me now?
Hang on.
Go on. He's on the M1, folks. I do apologise. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I had the Hallelujah chorus playing, but it's not coming up too loud on my work phone. So that was a shame. I waited on that for 20 minutes, but hey. for the audio version, that's going to be in, people. Yeah, look, I think we talked about it just off air there now. I think for Burnsy and Garth, that victory is for them. We've seen a marked improvement over the last 4 games under the tutelage of the two lads. So for those two more than anyone, I'm delighted, tell the truth. Yeah, look, this time last week, we were breaking news. We were unsure whether this was happening or not. We kind of got more and more confirmed the further home I got. And our heads were spinning. We didn't know what way this was going to have an effect on the club. And to be fair to Noel King, in all his interviews and his pre-match interview tonight, he said, let the football do the talking. It's not up to him whether it's here. The fans will let him know quick enough. But if you want to win over the fans, Gally, roll in there, a 2-0 victory at home, another clean sheet, 2 goals finally scored at home. Goals scored at home, ticked. Another clean sheet, ticked. A home win, ticked. First win of the season, ticked. He's
and screamers of goals to boot. Yeah, two screamers of goals. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a series of monkeys off his back day one.
Yeah.
And I suppose if you ever want to have a big impact on day one in your job, it's have a positive impact like that. So, from that point of view, I don't think Noel King could have done anything better than how he done tonight.
And I don't think it's even. I don't want to be. We're going to big us up as much as we can. I don't even think the Bows were poor. I know some people that are Bows. I don't think we let them play. I think the tempo. I think Sean had mentioned it there, or Sean Newbury. Urgency, tempo. It was from the start, and we've had more chances to score more than one. Bows were kept at bay for pretty much 90% of the game. Not really any. I know. Look, we can talk about the penalty later on, but it was it's not so much. And I keep saying it wasn't so much obviously the defeats were sitting on boys, but. Yeah, performance, urgency, tempo, like Sean said, just creating chances, the urge to get there, the want for the ball. It just seemed to be a little bit, and I'm saying it hasn't happened. It's not that it hasn't happened in games, but tonight it was just relentless from minute 1 to minute 90. It was just relentless, and that's all we've been looking for the last couple of months, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and also goals breed confidence. You can see as soon as we scored the first, a kind of weight got lifted off the players' shoulders and they played with a lot more freedom tonight.
Yeah.
And that, like you say, that's what we've been wanting to see. We wanted to see them play with the ability that they have.
Yeah.
And I think tonight was probably the first time we've really seen that. Me and Steph talked about it in the what was it, 11 days ago or something we played up in Dalymount. And bar that, Akintunde's header, they weren't a million miles better than us. And
no.
We just lacked a little bit of a spark up front. But wow, did we get some sparks tonight. Scott High is, he's not going to hit anything much sweeter than he's hit tonight. He's a player we've talked about having ability, playing at a good high level. We're talking championship level, and we were expecting a lot more from him. I think tonight was one of the first times we've really seen the heights that he can get to, if you pardon the pun. But we've wanted to see that in that player. We've been calling for individuals and players to step up and really make their impact. And I think you've probably seen that with Dara Keane over the past, 2 fixtures, where he's come on in a substitute appearance and played really well. Really good when he came on in Dalymount, really good when he came on over in the showgrounds. Gets a start tonight, another solid performance by him again. And I think that probably frees up a little bit for Scott High and Robbie Benson to push on a little bit. And wow, did they make it pay? I mean, Gally, you were there for the 2 finishes tonight in person. What were they like in person?
Oh, I mean, and like you rightly mentioned, Scott High has that in his locker, and we've seen it. It reminds you kind of, like Aoch back to the likes of Conor O'Malley last year, who would have been something similar in his locker, but obviously didn't get that chance to show it. But it was just absolute, it was pandemonium. You think it was a cup final, I don't mean to sound over the top, but I mean, it was that kind of atmosphere. I know Oriel Park was tight, and I don't know I didn't get the attendance. There was plenty of seats not in it. I don't know. Look, it could have been a bad night.
2,700.
Yeah, so even at that, it's probably low on numbers what you'd want for a new manager's first game. But look, these things happen. But the atmosphere was electric, and there was no. The real thing that I took from it was that there was no annoyance from people. So when a ball broke down, there was no annoyance because you were expecting to get another chance. Whereas in the last couple of weeks, if a ball broke down, we might have only had 2 chances in the game to score, and we're not taking any of them. So, but in this game tonight, there wasn't too much disappointed if a pass went amiss, and there wasn't many, in fairness. But because the fans, there just seems this kind of air of belief in it that no, this game won't be in doubt. Even with the penalty, there was just something about the penalty. You didn't fancy him to score it. There was just something in the air. We were up at the Bells now with the wee ones with us, and I thought it did almost distract me from watching the game, but it didn't, because everybody was engaged in it so much. There was just kind of a different air of everything tonight, and you can talk about individuals like Davey English has mentioned there. Darren Hogan had his best game I've seen him in. Now I know he's been with us now. We're talking last July, is it? Is it last July? Without a doubt, his best performance since he's returned. Now he's had some decent play, he's had some decent spells, but that's as good as he's been in a long time. He was absolutely fantastic tonight. Mountney, Benson, boys have mentioned a lot of it. I don't think, even the first comment that came in tonight from Tin Tomatoes, nobody put a foot wrong. Everybody mad at the match tonight, and that's what we've been crying out for. That's we've just been looking for that little bit. Anybody that's come on, Dara Keane's been unlucky as well, got a bit of an injury, but. Again, excellent. Nobody's come off the bench and you're thinking, I don't know about this. It just seems to be one of those nights that, this is what we were looking for. It's that kind of. I know you get the new manager Surge. I get that, but I really think now, especially when you got Shells next. I think it's next. Yeah, this Shells were next.
Shells next Friday. Yeah.
That's a real. Noel King will be looking for that. He's come from Shells, albeit the ladies team, but he's come from a long history there. Everybody's like, Jamie Gullen. Frank's mentioned Jamie Gullen. You forget, he's been missing for a couple of weeks. Not from the pitch. He's just been missing. He's just been missing. Getting about. But just to a man, everybody was fantastic. George Shelby as well. His confidence. Somebody mentioned his confidence. They'll do him no harm. It was just a perfect night. Now, I'm not saying Noel King's going to work wonders here, but I do think the combination of obviously Garth and Bonesy or more on the sideline tonight than Noel King was out in the box for the coaches, but. I think there could be a blend there. I don't know. I'm not saying my opinions changed much from last week, but look, it's whatever gets results now. I mean, if that's what we're going to be expecting every game, bring it on. Absolutely, bring it on. I thought they were fantastic, every one of them.
Yeah, look, and I think that's all. Like you just said, we that's all we've been asking for is that level of commitment, and we felt that there was a changing of the tide nearly. I think. The lads' first match, the Pats match at home, I think we kind of held in there. Yeah. But we showed that we can be solid at the back. We got a clean sheet. Keeper had to pull off some great saves that night.
Yeah.
Then then we had the Bows match, and we kind of, I think we got undone by just a lack of concentration for one moment, and that cost us the game. And once we went behind, we started to show a little bit of something that there was something there in us that we could get back in it. We just showed it a little too late in the game, but you could see, okay, there's something there. That's enough to say we can try harder. We go to Sligo, we go behind, but like we discussed this last week, the heads didn't drop when we went behind, and we fought our way to get back into that match. Scored the penalty, and Gullen obviously, getting something out of that and getting more touches. And every game he seems to be getting more and more involved, including tonight. So tonight, I think it was coming. It was coming tonight. I think our performances were getting better and better. That you just knew a win was going to come. So like I say, I'm just delighted. I'm delighted for everyone that was there. Images at the end, Shelby grabbing the flag in front of
I just put that. That's just on our socials there at the minute. It's just a one of those videos you might look back on that might start a little bit of a documentary at the end of the season. Yeah, it's a cracking video.
Like if you want to win over everyone, like if you think of Shelby, and the silence in Oriel Park during the 5-0 defeat and the mistakes he made and how low he felt, to fight his way back into the seat and to keep another clean sheet, save a penalty, and have the opportunity then to go in front of the fans and be like that. Like, fair play to him is what I will say to that. But yeah, look, to a man, I think everybody deserved that performance. It was coming. It was unfortunate Drogheda picked up 3 points tonight, but you would say probably Sligo and Waterford are now going to start looking over the shoulder at both Drogheda and Dundalk, and that might just, like we talked about this. Look, the most important thing is that we get a win, and that win had to come soon, because if we hadn't have won tonight and Drogheda won, like that gap was getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So the gap to ourselves and Drogheda, that hasn't decreased. But what we've done now is we've gained 3 points on both Waterford and Sligo Rovers tonight. So bring more into this is what I say. And let's start hunting them down. Obviously, we've got the Louth Derby on the Bank Holiday Monday in just over a week's time now as well. So, like that weekend could turn out to be pivotal. I think you're looking to see if you could even pick up a point or something against Shell. But performance, but they haven't been great of late. But a draw against them wouldn't be the world's worst result, as long as you can back that up with something like 3 points in Weavers Park 2 days later. I think that's what you got to look for now.
Yeah,
I'm just look for another one.
I'm just watching the comments coming in. It's going to be like people had mentioned here, like David Sally had said, it's going to be hard to win a pizza night. It's going to be very difficult to give away a pizza night because the amount of comments that have come in for different players, and this is what I was saying. There's nobody really that you could, like Mark Carroll makes a great point that it like something I didn't even, it's only when you realise back, but there's only 2 subs made and one of them's with injury, Dara Keane. Is that something, like we talked here last week?
Dara Keane.
Like I said it before. I don't know what game it was. Sometimes you don't have to make 5 subs. You don't have to use your quota. We got to that stage we were putting on subs for the sake of putting on subs, but now there seems to be a more bit of a, as Noel King I was saying during the week and one of the, like he's there kind of overseeing everything, but the 2 boys, Garth and Bonesy, are kind of not doing all the work, but they're doing the coaching bit. They're kind of motivating the lads, and is that something like, I wonder on the bench tonight, did they think, right, well, there's no real need to make a sub here. Let's not make a sub for the sake of making a sub. Let's just keep them. Dara Keane's obviously a forced injury. Owen Kenny comes on late in the game. I think could be his first league game?
That's his debut.
At home, debut at home, yeah.
Yeah, because he came on against Bows for his league debut.
Yeah,
and he also got a substitute appearance over in the showground. So this was his home debut as well. So a good thing from that is that they're thinking of, right, well, let's not just make subs for the sake of it. Let's keep the structure. Let's keep it right. 2 subs in a League of Ireland game is almost unheard of. But you get the feeling that a lot of things have changed in the last week. There's a lot of kind of, let's use a bit of common sense. Let's let these lads play. Let's, your Robbie Benson tonight. Robbie Benson was just, like you had said,
Robbie Benson of old, just let the fly, just let freedom on the pitch. It was like his range of passing tonight. And I sat down at the town end tonight because we the football girls with us. I wasn't up in the stand, but to see him up close, that at eye level, he's a frighteningly good footballer. I always said it, in full flight, there's not many better. His range of passing is frightening. And we need players like that. Himself, Hogan, Scott High, but definitely himself, Hogan, have come into the fray now in the 90 minutes tonight. They probably had their best game for us in a long, long time. And that's what obviously has gone over the last week. They're just maybe giving him this bit of freedom. And maybe I know somebody had said about Stephen, maybe they're scared to go a wee bit against the grain with whatever tactics they had. But tonight they would just seem to be sent out and said, right lads, go out and do what you're supposed to do. And that's the kind of buzz that they've been given, and that it fed to the fans. The place was rocking, absolutely rocking. I'd say the chip shops and the sweet shops did an absolute packet tonight. The place was absolutely rocking, and that's what we've been missing over the last couple of weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, look, the amount, I think over the past few games we've mentioned Robbie Benson. We said Robbie Benson is an absolute Rolls Royce of a player, and when he is just taking over, there's not many in this league that are of that level. Like you say, his range of passing, the goal tonight, that's just peak Robbie Benson. Since Garth and Burnsy have taken over, I definitely feel there's a lot more freedom in Robbie Benson's play. It's like he's been told he can go back to playing, whether Stephen O'Donnell had asked him to do a different task on the pitch, or to play a different way, or not to be as free as he seems to be over the past while. I'm not too sure, but I know you're saying it could be hard to pick a man of the match, but I feel Robbie may just edge this one tonight, as I feel it was just another vintage performance from him. On your substitutes, I think it might have been the Galway match when we were 2 down, and we made a 3 substitutes, one of those 3 substitutes in a row moments, and it didn't even change anything. It was just like for like substitutes all over the pitch, and it didn't change how we played, the formation we were playing. And I think that was the night you said sometimes you don't have to make the changes, unless they're going to have an impact on how you play. But that had no impact at all. So maybe to just have one of them forced tonight might just put something into some players' heads that I'm not going to be guaranteed 20 minutes of a run out tonight, even if I'm on the bench. I got to earn my place back on it. And here's the interesting thing, because when Stephen O'Donnell left that Monday, and we were like, oh God, what's going to happen here? And the news broke that there was a meeting, and they've decided to part company with Stephen O'Donnell. We were like, well, that's a short week up to the Pats match that night. And then it was a quick turnaround because you had the Bulls match then after. And then you had, on the Friday, you had the Sligo match then as well. So this is the first full week that these coaches have also had. So to see that mark improvement to go and get the win, we probably shouldn't be surprised, because this is the first time they've got to work with them. Like, set pieces seem to be, and our crossings seem to be a lot better tonight. We seem to be able to hit the ball into a couple of danger areas, and our link-up play, like we question whether Mouts and RP Davies can play on that same right-hand side, but like you see Mouts getting involved for Robbie Benson. So maybe it's something to be able to work on the training pitch all week long for a change, and now we're going to have that again on the lead up to the Shells match. We're going to be able to work on this for another week again. So let's see if we get another marked improvement from players, and hopefully this is just how we push on now.
Yeah, and I even when you see it tonight, obviously off the pitch as well with fans, like social media. Like I think it's the first night. I'm looking at our social media. It's pinging on our phone. We're not usually a podcast of shout-outs. The amount of people looking for a shout-out on a podcast, like I've no idea looking for a shout-out for Neil Adair. I know Neil Adair. Neil Adair's heads torture go between the Irish League and the Electricity League, going up and down the 2 games each weekend. His head's torture. Imagine a couple of games, but people, it's kind of, feel good factor football. I know it's only 1 game. I know John Flanagan raised a serious issue that the fact that you're at the Bray match. And the Dundalk have won.
Not by choice.
It's
not by choice.
It's down in sunny Bray for the day, and we picked up a couple of points. But
just down getting some ice cream.
It's but like Flanagan mentioned here as well. This is what we were talking about. It's not like a no nods from the back. But it was the freedom and go and express yourselves, go and play. And I probably made that sound like it was just Noel King coming in. It wasn't. The boys have had this for the last couple of weeks, and like you rightly said.
Building.
And you rightly said it's for the 2 boys on the sideline have worked. I know they were under Stevie as well, and I don't know if there was constraints there or your hands were tied on what way to do it, but that obviously way wasn't working. So let's go for it. Let's try and get something now. Let's try and do something a little bit different. And a perfect night for everything. Now look, it could have come a couple of games later. Who knows? But now let's try and kick on from that. Shelbourne at home next week. That's massive again. When you consider what Shelbourne have done tonight and where they are and who the manager is, and let's get them to Oriel Park and give them, them a proper wake-up call. Look, we don't know how the game will go, but let's get them a proper rattling, because I think that kind of combination of the 2 boys, Noel King, Damien Duff, all, Joey, all those fiery characters, that, especially after tonight's result, Shell's beyond one now. They'll be living off that result now all season. But, they're rightly up there at the top of the league. Let's go down and try to take them off a little bit. And, tonight's game shows that when we're allowed to, not we're allowed to do, but, lads have mentioned John Mountney. John Mountney tonight is going forward, getting forward. It was like a vintage John Mountney, a vintage Robbie Benson, a vintage Darren Hogan. That's what we've been looking for. That's what we've been looking for all this last couple of weeks.
Dundalk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's vintage. It was
vintage that's
Dundalk.
It, isn't it?
And look, this is the thing. Like, I think this has all been building. We've been knocking on the door getting this win. Now we finally got the win, and that's probably the best result to have coming into the Shells, because the talk is now not going to be when is Dundalk going to get a win, when are we going to get a home goal. It's going to. It has to be about kicking on now, and like you say, Shells coming to town. We can't be apprehensive about this. We're undefeated in our last 4 home. Am I right?
Yeah.
4 home games, or is that 3 home games? So we're starting to make, Oriel Park, that's 4, sure. I'm thinking, the Drogheda match and everything else. It's not, we're not as porous as we were at the start of the year. Yeah. And now we've gone and showed that we can score some goals. So Damien Duff will be approaching this in a different light now as well. That if we leave space for players like Darrell Horgan, for players like Robbie Benson, the cleverness of John Mountney, we can now punish them. It's not about just keep getting at Dundalk, because eventually, this was our conversation at the start of the year, was teams just seem to be waiting for their chances because they know we're going to keep giving them opportunities, and all you got to do is take one. Look at the limited opportunities that Bohemians had tonight. Yeah. Look at the limited opportunities, that other teams have had now coming to Oriel Park. We are starting to be a hard team to beat. Take away the first 20 minutes in Sligo. What else did Sligo really do? Not that much. Bray had maybe 2-3 chances when the substitutes come on for them, but they just took one. And then we had a chance to get back into it maybe if we just had to pull the trigger like we did tonight. But I think that's just going to be a real confident booster for us. It's going to be it'll be a good training week for the lads this week. Everyone's going to be bouncing now this week coming into Oriel, and I just feel that's the right tonic to be going into that match. Although Shelbourne will be high as well, but we're not. We're going into that with a little more freedom. I feel now. It's not shit. When are we going to get this win? God, we got to get a goal here. If we don't, the crowd's going to be on our back. You listen to the crowd tonight. You look at the scenes of the players getting involved, like we said with Shelby there tonight. It's the perfect tonic going into that. into the double header of the week. Like these double headers just seem to be coming thick and fast, don't they? Except
but
now
we want them, don't we? Though, like even when we were
winning, you do. Yeah, if you're winning,
even in a strange way, when we were dropping points, we really wanted them out again to try and scrape them points back. You know, even though like we were expecting, look, we're probably going to get another beating here, but we still wanted games. The quicker the better, because we just wanted to get rid of the memory of the last game. So you know, I think it's definitely now, as you know, as we get a bit of positivity and we get the 3 points on the board, and we got clean sheet, 2 goals at Oriel Park, 2 screamers at Oriel Park. You know, you're really looking forward to a cycle of games, especially when it's Shelbourne. And I just think there's a different, albeit look, it's one game. Look, and we have to obviously we went back to last week's podcast and. It'll haunt me that the breaking news breaking in the middle of a podcast. It'll haunt me. It's something we've never done before. But I think there's a bit of I don't know what the term is, or but maybe we don't have to backtrack. But I think there's definitely there's a nice aura about the place now, and there's a buzz, and there's a it was a different crowd tonight. I keep going on about the crowd, but I said it earlier on, but there was no kind of you can do better than that, or cut that out. There was none of that tonight. It was just don't worry, we'll get it. It's fine. They were playing well. It was just there's just a different buzz about the place. Yeah.
Like as I said, and I think the fact that we're just not coughing up these easy chances against us, that's part of that. The people were worried when we weren't playing well, when we were having catastrophic keeper errors and stuff like that. We just looked like an easy target. I don't think we are an easy target anymore. And even that is all we were looking for. Now I'm looking for us to kick on even more than that. But all I'm thinking now is Anna Reynolds coming in at Bowes at this time where they had a double header coming at a weekend. They got their first win, then they got another win before our game then on the Monday, and suddenly they had 9 points out of 3 games in a week, and it turned their whole season around. Suddenly they were third in the league and everything was rosy. So it just goes to show how important this weekend could be coming for us, because I think that has to be a minimum of 4 points there for us to really kick on and close that gap to the teams above us. And if we do that, I think we could come out of the bank holiday weekend and a whole bottom end of this league you could be only talking a handful of points between 4 teams. Yeah. And what a difference that could make.
And that's what we had said this earlier on in the league. The league's that tight now. Well, I mean, there was danger we'd get cut adrift, but it is that tight, like or that bottom probably kind of 4, 5, 6 teams. If we can go on a bit of a run, you'd kind of like to think that you'll beat them. I think somebody had commented on it. The likes of Drogheda, Sligo Rovers, Waterford. You'd like to think, a team with momentum like ourselves on that bounce, like you say, we'll pick up points against them, and that's kind of where we're living now. That's your bread and butter now for the next couple of months. You just got to concentrate on everybody, and obviously you got to concentrate on your own games. But that's where you're keeping your eye now.
Yeah, and I think to be fair to Noel King and all his press conferences this week, he's just said it's one game at a time. It's it's that cliche in football, but I don't think he'll be looking at that Drogheda match at all. I think it'll be concentrate, and I mean this as in the management team, as in all 3 of the lads, really. Yeah. I think their focus will be just on the Shelbourne match and getting something out of that match. And I think if we get something out of that, that's the springboard now to go on and try to pick up the maximum points then against Drogheda maybe. But that's not going to be an easy game. Like we've seen all the games we had in Weavers Park last year, they were tight. But I'd love to just see if we can carry a bit of momentum into that.
Yeah.
That's what you want, going into it. And what you want all we can ask is for us to keep picking up points, and the teams above us will start looking over the shoulders, and you just need to drag a few teams back in on this, and it might just be enough of a springboard for us. But it's tonight. Look, I'm just absolutely delighted to get that win. Yeah. To knock all that stupid talk on the head. I'm delighted for Noel King in a way.
I mean, it's one of those things that, regardless of what opinion you have of somebody who's gone in, regardless of, you know, he's not for me. He's not, and like, to be honest, he isn't for me. You know, when I said this last week, he wouldn't be. But at the end of the day, you got to back him when he's in the dugout. You got to back him when, you know, if he's getting results or he's having an influence on the results happening, regardless if it's Garth or Burnsy, he's been put in there, and you know, you got to back him to the hilt, whatever he wants to do. He's got an 18-month contract minimum. You know, like, well, a maximum. He's probably a maximum in his case. He probably don't get longer than that, but you know, he's in there now, and you just got to back it, regardless of who it is.
Yeah, look, I think if you took a poll last Friday night stroke Saturday morning, it would be predominantly negative about the appointment. And that's because it came out of the blue. And I suppose we were kind of caught off guard, so we haven't really talked about it, so we'll talk about it now.
Yeah.
I think
well, we'll just before you start, Chris, we'll bring in just bring him on the sly in here. We'll bring in an expert. Okay. We're going to bring in our regular Niall Newbury. Niall, we're just on. Welcome to the show. We're just in Oriel Park. We're just on the subject of obviously Noel King, the big talking point of the week, and we haven't really talked about it yet. So Chris is just kind of getting into it from the M1 there, wherever he is.
Lads, I'm just past junction 16. I'm flying here.
Boy, yeah. So you're nearly there.
Yeah, look, I think, as I say, if you done a poll last Friday night stroke Saturday morning, it would have been 90% negative for the appointment of Noel King. I think what a lot of the gripe with the fans was there was a process. We had a press release stating of, you know, when that deadline was going to be, and the numerous candidates, the 70 candidates they talked about that was going to be in it. So for a decision to be made on Saturday morning to throw that whole process out, I think that's what probably caught most Dundalk fans off guard. Then I suppose it's a candidate that's been out of senior men's football for so long. Also, that's a bolt out of the blue. Now we know he's got the ties to Brian Ainscough, so this was a real swing and a hit from Brian Ainscough, and this was on his own. That he's gone and from Noel's point of view, he seemed to go in with a good attitude. He hasn't deflected the fact that it's Burnsy and Garth put in all the work for this result tonight, you know, to get to this result tonight. And, you know, he's mostly been a observer, I think he said, this week in training. So, you know, I'm delighted that this is gone. And I'm delighted for Brian Ainscough as well, because this goes wrong, it all turns sour for him. And we've seen how quickly that can go with the end of P6 era in Oriel Park and how toxic everything got. So, you know, wins breed confidence in every direction, and I'm just delighted for this team now to get that win. But yeah, it was an out of the blue appointment that no one saw coming. So to get the win, yeah, that's going to give him a bit of street cred now with the fans.
Yeah, Niall, just before, obviously we'll get into the game and you're obviously there tonight, but just from a kind of a journalistic point of view, and, you know, it was probably, I don't know if it was a dream write-up that you got last week or a dream kind of, you know, let's dig into this more, or if it's a massive headache for someone like yourself in the profession that you have. But, you know, when the breaking news came in last week, like, it's one of those moments, where were you when you heard the news that Noel King was going to be the new Dundalk manager?
To be honest, we were in the showgrounds last week, and you know, we were speaking to Brian Gartland, and I'd actually asked Brian the question about, you know, in relation to Peter Halpin's, you know, letter to supporters, which outlined the process that, you know, applications were going to be taken by the club up until the 24th, which was just Wednesday just gone. And I'd asked Brian Gartland, you know, if he was confident that, you know, a new manager would be in place maybe after this week, so maybe the you know, Shell's game next week. Brian's answer was, you know, he couldn't give a definitive answer to that. He said he doesn't know if it's going to be a day, 2 days, a week, 2 weeks, if there's going to be a manager in place. I think not even 10 minutes after that conversation had ended with Brian Gartland, we were in the car on the way back home from Sligo, and my phone started hopping to the point where it nearly exploded. And, you know,
we should have got you on live from the road there. We should have got you on.
It mightn't have been possible, Gally, to be fair. Like, you know, I think the phone was just about to blow up at that point. But it would have been fun for sure with Jerry Malone, no doubt. I think poor Jerry had to pull over at one stage, you know. So, like, But look, come here. I mean, it was nobody. I don't think anybody saw it coming, and I think it's fair to say Peter Halpin and Brian Gartland probably didn't see it coming either. Look, it's one of those things. I think Noel King, it's not a name he's not a name who's really been mentioned. But I suppose I think you said it yourself in the podcast last week, Ali. I did watch it back. That we don't really need. It's not really a case of sort of trying to get the next win or whatever. It's a case of or like steadying the ship. We're in survival mode at this stage. And I think that's where the club is. And when you're looking at potential candidates for the manager's position, you got to factor in what we actually need as a club right now. Bottom line is Dundalk FC are 10th in the table, still are even after today's win. We're still bottom of the league. As you said, we're beyond the point of steadying the ship. We need to get ourselves out of trouble. You can talk about managers like Stephen Kenny being linked and people like that, managers who are used to being at the top end of the table. But is that really going to work for us? You look at Liam Buckley coming into Cork last season, a manager who's not used to, maybe relegation scraps. For what we need right now, we probably needed an experienced head, an experienced manager to kind of stop the gap, I suppose. I think it's, the reports obviously, or the man said it himself. I think it's, by all intents and purposes, Keith Long was probably the club's first choice to come in and succeed. Stephen O'Donnell, look, the bureaucracy around that is that Keith Long's a Waterford FC employee, and Waterford obviously give them Dundalk short shrift in terms of speaking to Keith Long. So that was probably a non-runner. But it's not to say that Keith Long won't be someone who they look at going forward, or somebody of that ilk that they look at going forward. So I don't think Noel King would be a long-term solution for obvious reasons. But for what we need right now, and today's game, I suppose, I think kind of proves that. It was a much more, I suppose, pragmatic approach that was taken. He sort of started with an almost 4-5-1, get the basics right kind of mentality. And it worked tonight. I mean, we got the result. And for what Dundalk need right now, if Noel King comes in now and gets us to finish 9th into a playoff, or better still, gets us to finish 8th and avoid relegation completely, he would have done a very, very good job from where he's taken it. He obviously took a bit of a back step today. I think Brian Gartland and Liam Burns were given a lot of the direction. We did speak to Noel King after the game, and he said that was kind of on purpose. He wants to kind of get a feel of it. He's only in the door, I suppose, not even a week. So, look, it's an interesting appointment. It's not one any of us saw coming. But I think at the bottom line, as Dundalk supporters, first and foremost, we've got little choice but to just get behind it now and hope Noel King can steer the ship and keep Dundalk FC in the Premier Division.
If Frank Carolan, well-known Dundalk supporter, he's raised a good point there. And was it a simple fact of, right, well, obviously Brian Ainscough knows Noel, and has he brought him in maybe to do the pro lights, let the two boys coach? It is something you could be looking at. It is, look, if it is, it could end up being a masterstroke. But I mean, I noticed just when you were talking about, him coming in, there was almost a media frenzy. It's almost like I know at the dugout, I happen to be at the dugout. I'm not usually down that far because the wee footballers are on the girls, but it almost seemed like it was like almost a circus around the dugout, which I haven't really seen in a long time. I mean,
no.
Probably not since the Kenny era, where you've seen that kind of media flash and lights. I mean, I suppose for them and for someone in your line of work, it's probably like a marquee moment, the marquee kind of, because if it goes well, it's the most random masterstroke ever. And if it doesn't, well, it kind of goes to Ainscough and the owners and, whoever, well, it's Brian's appointment, but it's kind of for newspapers and for reporting, it's almost a win-win. But I mean, I never seen the likes of that. Yeah. What he brought to the dugout tonight just before the game, the amount of press and photographers, I haven't seen that in a long time at Oriel Park.
Yeah, I think Noel King, in fairness, for the last number of decades, has been, a divisive figure within Irish footballing circles. So he's well known. Obviously his 2-game spell as caretaker, Ireland manager, he's perhaps best remembered for. But going back, his management career goes way back to 1985. He was the man who brought Derry City into the Premier Division initially when they joined the League of Ireland, and he had a very sort of, public spat, I suppose, with Jim McLaughlin at the time as well. I mean, his career goes back a long, long way. He got the Shamrock Rovers job, ended up getting the sack from them in 1991. Went to Limerick, won a League Cup. There succeeded none other than Sam Allardyce with Limerick. Was with Finn Harps as well. It's 20 years actually. I think it's bang on 20 years this month. I think he left Finn Harps 6 games into the 2004 season,
Right.
citing, travel arrangements as one of his reasons for departing that job. And that's bang on April 2004. That's 20 years since to now. That was his last, I suppose, senior men's League of Ireland job in club management. So he's been a long time out of this kind of management, but he has got a very, very long CV. I mean, he was involved with the FAI from 2000 with the women's team, then obviously with the under-21s, and was an FAI employee up until 2020. And I think he was the Shelbourne women's manager, won 2 Premier Division titles in the Women's National League, and was a director at Home Farm most recently as well. So his career, he's been pretty much in the game non-stop, since the 70s, from being a player to a coach and manager, director, women's manager, whatever. He's been in the game. He hasn't been out of the game, I suppose, as such, in all that time. But it was a challenge for him, I suppose, and I'm sure it's one he relished. He doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who's going to get fazed by criticism or anything like that. I'm not sure if he's on social media or anything, but obviously he's probably better off, because the reaction was quite unanimous, and I think some people are saying he done the impossible and brought all the Dundalk fans together in terms of agreeing on something for once. The man deserves a chance, whether you agree with him being the right appointment or not. He does deserve a chance, but it's a challenge for him in the sense of there's no grace period. If we lose this game today, the knives are already out. Luckily, he's managed to get the win, and a convincing win at that. Dundalk were miles better than Bohemians today, and probably should have won by more than 2 goals. To be honest, but he didn't have a grace period. Like other managers have come in, have had a grace period. He hasn't had that, and he's not going to have that. He's basically been brought in as a firefighter by Brian Ainscough to try and clean this mess up, and a mess it is. But and this in relation to the media frenzy, I suppose the only thing that kind of comes close to it, I suppose we didn't get a chance to see it because of COVID and whatnot, but when Filippo Giovagnoli came into the club, I think that would have been maybe a not too dissimilar appointment in terms of the social media commentary around it was quite unanimous, even before the guy had actually had a chance to actually coach the team, and he ended up doing a reasonable job in terms of getting us into the top 3, winning the FAI Cup and getting to the Europa League group stages. So sometimes these madcap appointments there's a method in the madness sometimes, and maybe Brian Ainscough sees something that maybe the rest of the Dundalk support don't see, because he's obviously made the call. He seems to have gone rogue on it too. The application process hadn't even finished by the time he appointed Noel Kings. So, and Noel obviously has gone public in confirmation that he didn't even apply for the job. So obviously Brian,
so it is literally as rogue as they come, isn't it? It's one of those appointments. It is it's absolutely out of the just.
Oh, it's completely out of the blue.
Picking,
there's left field, and then there's this. I think. It's up there. It's up there with Filippo in terms of the left field nature of it. But from a media perspective, it could be interesting. He is. In fairness, his press conference today was quite. It was. He didn't give too much away in terms of his answers. It was a short enough press conference in terms of. But obviously, they won the game. My impressions are if things start to go a bit haywire, the press conference might become a bit more, juicy, for want of a better phrase, but it was a great start from today. 3 points, our first win of the season. At the end of the day, we hadn't won in 11 matches prior to Noel King's first game today. So I suppose the only way was up, if you actually look at it from a logical standpoint. So he's got the win today, and it was a convincing win. Now, I accept that, you're always going to get a bit of a new manager bounce with these things, and you don't want to get too carried away. It is just one game, but there was certainly enough in that performance today to suggest that we can get ourselves out of trouble. And I think that's the Dog fans tonight will be a lot more confident maybe of survival than they were maybe 24 hours ago. So that's something we got to take.
Yeah, we had spoke kind of straight out the gate on the podcast, and we weren't surprised. We were just loving and kind of having a love in on the fact that, what somebody had mentioned very early on, urgency, tempo, pace, just creating chances, wanting to the ball, first to the ball. It just seemed to be everything just seemed to click really early doors. And I had mentioned the fans once or twice as well, and there was no fans getting anybody's back for a bad pass. Not that there was many. It just seemed to be a different kind of, I used the word earlier, a different aura in Oriel Park tonight. And it just seemed to be, the buzz was back, albeit, we can definitely get a few more bums and seats on ticket sales, but, they just obviously let them have this bit of freedom maybe, and lads just go out and play. We mentioned Darrell Horgan was it was vintage Darrell Hogan, Robbie Benson, John Mountney, Andy Boyle as well. Like, these lads just, Darrell Hogan, in my opinion, is probably 100% played his best game since he come back to the club tonight.
Yeah, I agree.
Robbie Benson bang back in form. Jimmy Gullen as well, that's how we'd mentioned. I just thought there was this kind of lads go out, you're having a laugh here, you haven't got going at all. Go out and show what you can do. And like you said, like, probably could have won by more. Bose, and I don't think Bose were poor. I just don't think we let them play. And I just think we're just overall the better team in every aspect of the park.
Yeah, I 100% concur with your Darrell Hogan assessment there. I thought he was the best player on the pitch tonight. Absolutely outstanding. The best we've seen him since he's come back to the club.
Yeah.
But not even necessarily just from an attacking standpoint, from everything, getting stuck in, the aggression.
Yeah.
Everything he showed in his game today was just vintage Darrell Hogan, and he was superb. As was John Mountney. I thought how John Mountney didn't score is actually is a mystery, to be honest. He was outstanding, playing in a right mid position today.
Yeah.
Where we haven't seen him there in a very long time actually in his career. Andy Boyle in the centre half, was absolutely outstanding. I spoke to him after the game. Again, vintage Andy Boyle tonight, organising that back four, superb. Robbie Benson obviously got the official man in the match, superb performance. Jamie Gullen, didn't get a goal, but showed real improvements tonight. Maybe a bit of confidence from his goal and
in fairness, he showed a bit last week as well. I thought even last week's game there was a bit more running in him, and we're hoping. We actually did mention that maybe someone like Noel King might be able to just get that little bit of bounce off him and get.
Yeah,
he's definitely at it tonight. Everything but a goal.
Well, he might suit.
Yeah,
with the greatest respect, he might suit a Noel King sort of team in the sense of like the kind of pragmatism in terms of getting the ball up top. I mean, like, we did play a lot more. We played brilliantly tonight. We did, but it was more back to basics tonight. I thought for Dundalk. He started with that 4-5-1, no messing kind of old school kind of football, and we came out of the blocks on fire tonight, and I haven't seen us do that in a very, 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 very long time. Scott High, I think, also was superb tonight in midfield. By the way, I thought Scott High had a very good game. Kind of slipped on. I know he scored a goal, but kind of slipped under the radar a little bit beyond that. But I thought he had a very good game tonight. George Shelby, we haven't even mentioned, saving a penalty. A goalkeeper has come under a lot of criticism, and has come back quite strong and shown tremendous character, I think, in fairness to him. So he now, in fairness, it wasn't the best penalty in the world.
You have to save it, though, don't you?
Yeah. As Chris knows, you still have to save them. So, and I'm sure you saved plenty, Chris, in your time. But
that's about the 4th podcast in a row that fucker's been mentioned in the Cooley League playing goalkeeper. I tell you, people start signing this one up.
Don't. I'm retired now. I'm retired. I'm not going back.
There's a goalkeeping coach position. Chris,
there you go.
There's only one in Bells for me. Am I right, Gally? Niall, it's a comment I seen there. I think it was Mark Carlin had it earlier, or Gally. 4 clean sheet at home in a row.
Yeah,
that's a hell of a turnaround from conceding 2, which could have been 5 in that Galway match, and conceding actually 5 then in the Sligo match. Like we look like at 6s and 7s in defence, but all of a sudden. Is that kind of Andy Boyle coming back? Do you feel, Niall, just for a bit of calmness back there? We also seem to have much more settled back 4. So, We've only kind of got whether it's going to be Mayowa or Johnson kind of in that one position. Otherwise, it's pretty settled back there now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Andy Boyle returning, Chris, is a big part of that. I mean, he's experienced. He's an experienced player. And, I did mention that to him today. I mean, but the consecutive clean sheets. I mean, again, and I don't know if I said it on this podcast or maybe I said it somewhere else. I'm not quite sure, but I did say it somewhere that certain areas of the pitch we have kind of shored up a wee bit. I talk defensively, we've kind of shored things up. Maybe taking the Derry game aside, we shored up certain elements on the pitch. Certain parts of the field. It was just getting goals that we weren't doing, and I mean, we've kind of rectified that tonight. I mean, on another night we could have scored 5 or 6 tonight. Do you know what I mean as well? So. I mean, tonight was our best performance by some
player like Dara Keane as well. Like Dara Keane, I know RB's gone off injured and he was excellent last week as well. He's a real, he's a find because I didn't really know a lot about him when the dog had signed him. But I knew, if you're signing someone from UCD, 9 times out of 10, you're signing a proper footballer because they just seem to produce them there. But obviously he's been unlucky with injuries but even someone someone who's only played, half the game, he come on half time a couple of weeks ago as well, changed the game not change the game, but improved the game. But these type of players, this is what we need now. We're going to get to see players that Stephen O'Donnell mightn't have had it. We said this, kind of mentioned that without the risk of repeating ourselves. Stephen O'Donnell might have had these players at his disposal, or maybe wasn't utilising one or two of them right. Yeah. But now I think with this kind of freedom and the way the boys are, singing from the same hymn sheet, maybe, which they possibly weren't, I think, we might just have, well, there's no better time to hit form when you're absolutely been brutal for, 3 months of the season. But, it could be something. And I don't want to look back at this podcast next week and go, what were we absolutely talking about? But there's definitely something different tonight. I mean, there's, it could only be different, really. But, players like that coming to the fore, I think this is going to be, if we can keep them all fit now and right, we're going to have a proper go, I think. And that seems to be just that kind of mantra that they might have.
Yeah, I mean,
Gally, it could be something as well. Niall, and you can come in on this one as well, though. When we lost Dara Keane, though, Kuhn Oosterbrink probably come in there and had a real solid game tonight.
He did.
That's probably his most solid performance for us.
Absolutely, yeah. And he's a fellow who hasn't played a lot of football. You know what I mean? Again, a bit like Scott High in midfield, really slipped under the radar in many aspects tonight. Had a really, really good game when he came on. Do you know what I mean? Done the simple things right. I think that's what the Dundalk were trying to. This is what we kind of what we've been lacking, I suppose. In the first 3 months of the season is just or the first 11 games is just doing the simple things correctly, and we got that right today. Even from a conversion standpoint of scoring goals, I mean, and keeping a clean sheet is a massive boost. To get those two things in one is a massive boost. I mean, but even looking at my notes here, I mean, like, one of the things I said to Stevie O'Donnell towards the end of his reign was that, like, one of the biggest massive concerns of that was that we weren't creating, not only were we losing games, but we weren't actually creating chances. We weren't looking like scoring goals. Yeah. I mean, my first half notes today have nearly spanned the whole page. I mean, we've created lots of chances. For the first time ever.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a long time, Chris. And it's sort of unprecedented nearly because you're kind of, at one stage you're nearly putting a throw-in down as a chance sometimes. It was
in your own half.
It was that bleak. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, they absolutely hit the ground running today. They really, I don't know what was happening in training today this week, but whatever it was, they seem to have responded. Now, I appreciate that there typically is a new manager bounce with a lot of clubs, and hopefully this one lasts, a prolonged period, because they really showed tonight that they, that there is the base of a good team there, and there is some good footballers there who can play. And what was most pleasing tonight was the experienced heads. The ones who you do expect more of really showed up tonight. The Mountaineys, the Bensons, the Boyles, the Horgans, etc. They really, really showed up tonight, and that's where the game was won and lost. I feel Horgan was superb, Benson superb, John Mountney brilliant, Andy Boyle at the back superb. So this is where these boys again, like, and I'm sure they know themselves that they might have let themselves down in some respects in recent weeks, but they really came to the fore tonight and showed what they're really made of in terms of their leadership. So it was great all around. It was. Yeah.
Niall, just thinking, 4 clean sheets in a row now at home. We've now got our first win, first goals as well in Oriel Park. Like, does this give, Shelbourne something different now to think about? We're probably not the easy target we once were.
Absolutely, yeah. And Shelbourne have kind of been, I know, obviously did an explosive start to the season, but they've been a little bit hit and miss, in recent weeks. Now, did they finish that game? Did they win that game tonight? I didn't get the final score.
I think they won 1-0.
Yeah, so they finished up 1-0. So they got back to winning ways tonight. But they're not unbeatable. I mean, it could be. It might make for a great game next week, by the way, because Shelbourne are quite pragmatic in their approach as well. So it might make for an excellent watch in terms of certainly from a neutral perspective. But then I'm saying that now, it'll probably be a 4-4 draw now. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly a much different game than it would have been, say, 2 weeks ago. I mean, it's a much different game now. I mean, like, Shelbourne and Damien Duff and co will be looking at that now and saying Dundalk are no longer, or definitely not the pushover maybe they were last week or 2 weeks ago, because Bohemians, themselves have been on a bit of a run, and like Dundalk made light work of them tonight. I mean, that's as good as Dundalk performance as I've seen. Not that it would have been hard this season to top it, but even going back to last season, it was rare we kind of saw that urgency and that aggression in our play. And I think Shells will be, they'll certainly be a lot more worried than maybe they would have been. In previous weeks. So it's something we should look relish. I mean, like, and then we've got, obviously the week after that we've got Drogheda or not Drogheda.
Yeah, it is
Oh,
on
yeah,
the bank holiday Monday.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Drogheda,
right,
yeah. The bank holiday match at
It's a
Hunky
1
Dory
o'clock
Park.
kickoff, is it?
So yeah, 1
1
o'clock.
o'clock. Yeah.
1 o'clock. Yeah. So that's got all the makings of a 6-pointer, and that could be the biggest Loud derby in a long time. And then you got Waterford after that on the Friday. So these are teams that are kind of in our proximity. Then, do you know what I mean? So this next couple of weeks now are going to be massive, I think, in terms of where we're actually looking. And the table could have a very, very, very different outlook for Dundalk in a positive way if we can get results in those games.
Gally, like it was something we built seasons on previously was our home form as well. Like, did you feel like the atmosphere there tonight and the fact that we're keeping these clean sheets and now we got to win? Like, is this like something we can start building that kind of, I don't want to say Fortress Oriel again just yet after one victory, but it's definitely not an easy place to come and pick up points anymore.
No, and it shouldn't be either for anybody. It should we've had too long sitting on this podcast, or Niall probably doing reports, or anybody sitting saying that people didn't care if they came to Oriel Park. There was no kind of, oh no, we're going up to Dundalk this week, that's going to be treacherous. It's not. It wasn't, and it hasn't been. All season, and you got to get if you want to do anything in the league or you want to kind of move up the table, you got to get your home form right. Now, there is every chance, and it looks like every possibility that we could get that over next week. If nothing else, we're going to get a good run at it, to get the home form up, get the points added to the board from the home games. But, the atmosphere tonight, obviously it has been better, but when you go in the last couple of weeks, I just thought it was electric. I really did. Now, it can go, I think it'd be even bigger Shelbourne if we don't get like Niall rightly mentioned, it could be an awful game. It just depends what kind of, how they bounce off each other, but I think the atmosphere and the build-up will be fantastic, as it should be for every game, really. But, you can't really blame lads either, what we've witnessed over the last couple of 10, 11 games. But like I said, the biggest thing for me was there was nobody moaning. There was nobody giving out. There was, I'm only talking about where I was. I can't speak for everybody, but there was no kind of, give it here, pass there, or, oh, that's terrible, get back. There was just seemed to be, let them play, let's get at, let's encourage them, and not that doesn't happen. But, over the last couple of weeks and months, it's just been, we've seen the numbers in this podcast, lads. We've been up, we've got stupid numbers for the shite that we talk, because people want to vent. And people are in tonight, and it's positive and it's great, but you're still venting, and you're still, whatever, what's happening, how it can change and stuff. But, if you can get your home base, get that Fortress Oriel there, we can get it back to that, get your fans on board, because then fans will travel, more fans will travel, the atmosphere will be better. You've got Shell's Drogheda coming up, double weekend, your 3 games in 10 days, and you got to take advantage of it. I think the atmosphere, the crowd adds massively in Oriel Park. When the crowd's rocking, the shed's rocking, it adds massively to the crowd. Now, in fairness, I don't think the crowd got the boys rocking tonight. I think it was the other way around. I think the players, the way they started the game, like Niall said, from the first whistle, they were on it. They were absolutely on it. And the crowd backed to the hilt once they knew that, they were viewing and seeing. And it just came together nicely. And whether or not you go to Dalymount to do the same, I don't know. But I don't think they'll fear them now. I don't think they'll fear now. If that's the way they're going to play from the onset, now teams know what they're going to be dealing with. Let's get at them. Let's, play high up the field, get the ball back early, press them. Like Flanagan had said earlier on, no nonsense football at the back. Press them high, get at them. The crowd can only back you on that. And that's all we've been looking for, isn't it? We're not like, results are great and you want the results as much as you can, but it was the performance that were killing us. And I think definitely tonight, we've been as good as we've been. Like Niall said, we've been as good as we've been probably in the last 15, 16 games in all competitions, probably easily. We've been fantastic tonight, and the crowd absolutely backed them 100%.
Yeah, you need to give the crowd a reason. I mean, that's something the crowd of the Oriel has been flat this season, because if a team, if supporters looking at a team that they perceive to be not trying or doing their best, it's very hard for the supporters to get behind that.
Yeah, there's only so much they can do. Yeah.
As you said, Gally, there, I mean, right from the off there, they came out of the blocks and straight away the crowd. That's how you get the crowd on side, and that creates and that's when they become your 12th man. I mean, every manager will tell you that. Every coach will tell you that. Stevie O'Donnell was well aware of that, and unfortunately for Stephen, it just didn't work out in the end for us. But that was a prime example tonight of how that can work. I mean, it was the other way around. It wasn't the players took it by the horns, I suppose, and the crowd followed, because the crowd sensed that this could be on for us now after a couple of minutes. This could be on for us tonight. We could get a result here, and luckily for them, from the Dogs' perspective, it turned out that way. And we finally got that monkey off our back, and there's no telling where that can go now, because I think I did say it to Andy Boyle as well. I mean, like, the longer you go, like, I don't believe this is a team of bad players as such. I just think it's a case of when you go so long without a win, and that narrative keeps following you, that you haven't won a game, you're winless, you're bottom of the league, the confidence is naturally going to be at an all-time low. And it's very hard to pull yourself out of that. So getting that first win today now, getting that monkey off the back could be the catalyst now to maybe pulling ourselves out of danger, I suppose, and maintaining our Premier Division status, which will be the target now, I think, this season. But now it seems a much more realistic target now than it did 24 hours ago. So those are the positives, I guess.
I think a combination of Chris being in Bray and Jason Crawley not being at the match tonight has absolutely played into the Dogs' hands. Jason's missed his first game. Chris is in Bray. I tell you, lads.
I was in Bray for the 5-0 defeat.
Why don't both these go to Bray and we win 6 or 7-0 next week?
Hang on, I was in Bray for the 5-0 defeat to Sligo.
That's right.
So
swings and roundabouts. I think we'll go just before we go to our man of the match line. Just something we wanted to raise with you. Mark Carroll commented in it. Something we didn't really notice at the start, but a change in the coaching structure, a change in maybe the lads' hands were tied on what they could do. But when you come to the substitutes, like, there's only 2 substitutes made tonight. You have Ryan O'Kane, Sam Durant on the bench. Jamie Walker as well. Is that something maybe, like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Don't try and change anything. Don't fix it. It's there. The lads are doing well. Why make a sub for the sake of making sub? Because we hammered them here a couple of weeks ago, making 5 subs for no reason. Yeah. And like Chris said, it was just like for like substitutes all the time, and there was nothing really happening. And is that something that now, right? Well, let's be honest here, and let's say, right, well, there's no need for you to go on the field. Let's just leave it the way it is and see how we go. Yeah,
I think there's definitely an element of that. I mean, like, it is simplistic, but it is that old expression: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, things were working on the pitch, and I suppose the management team tonight were possibly concerned if they chopped and changed too much, would it disrupt the whole flow of what was going on the pitch, because every single player seemed to be working 10 out of 10 tonight, in terms of work rate, and I suppose there was maybe a fear of maybe just disrupting that. I mean, I think it was only the enforced change with Ustenbrink coming on, and then I think Owen Kenny came on, in the dying embers. Yes, I think they were the only changes. I'm open to correction, but I think they were the only changes that I can recount. So you left a lot of players on the bench there who didn't feature tonight. I mean, it's rare you'd see only 2 changes made, especially now in the days of 5 substitutes. It's even rarer. So I mean, I suppose that was kind of what it was. Let's just get a win here, guys. I mean, that was we just needed to get that win by hook or crook. I don't think anyone. Obviously, we won the game 2-0 and it was convincing. But I don't think many people would have complained if we had won that game 1-0 tonight and it bounced off, someone's arse and went in. I don't think anyone's complaining, and we were second best. Yeah. I don't think anybody's complaining there either, because we just needed to get those 3 points on the board. We needed to get that win, and to do it playing the way we did and with a clean sheet is just a bonus. So it's the monkey off our back. But I think that was probably the thinking behind the changes or lack thereof, I suppose, was probably just let's not disrupt the flow here. Because obviously Bows were making a flurry of changes because they had to. Like, what they were doing, what they were doing wasn't working, evidently. So they had to. And I mean, we made them look very, very, very ordinary tonight.
Maybe Noel King didn't realise you can use 5 substitutes now.
The last time he coached, you couldn't make any substitutes.
I did.
You could pass it back to the goalkeeper the last time he was a manager. I didn't ask him that. No, I didn't. I was fearing a Tony O'Donoghue 2013 backlash. Yeah, I must have watched that video 100 times over the last 7 days.
Yeah. So I didn't. I didn't ask him that tonight. No, I might be poking the bear slightly there if I asked that one, lads. To be fair,
Well, that's something that we definitely will be asking, Niall, when we move on to. I was at the game tonight. We obviously had I keep mentioning, but we had our bells up tonight on the 10s. The amount of people asking for pizza tonight, this is our thing. This is our go. Nobody listens anymore for the crack. People want the pizza.
They're only here for pizza.
Tony DeLuca said, "Yeah, I want the pizza." So we'll get on to our man of the match. Niall, obviously you're a guest of honor tonight on VIP. We'll start with yourself on your man of the match, and you can run us through any options or any definitive answers that you have.
Yeah, there was quite a few contenders for man of the match tonight. I mean, obviously, just to go from the off, George Shelby, saves a penalty, at a crucial time of the game. It's only I think there's only an hour played at that stage. If Bow scored there, it's 2-1. Who knows what happens? Especially the way we've been this season. There's no telling how important that save was. I thought Zach Bradshaw done a solid job in left full. Andy Boyle, Zach Johnson, centre back pairing, very, very good. Scott High under the radar, played really, really well. Got himself his first goal, his first league goal of his career, I believe. I think it's the first league goal of his career. Darrell Horgan, superb. John Mountney, brilliant in a right mid position. Haven't seen him play there in a very long time, but was absolutely superb. A man, a lad coming back from injury. Jamie Gullen, disappointed. He'd be disappointed not to get a goal tonight, but his work rate was superb. But Robbie Benson obviously got the official man of the match at Oriel tonight. But for me, it has to be Darrell Horgan. I thought this is as good as we've seen Darrell Horgan since he's come back to the club. And Darrell Horgan, by his own admission, I'm sure, has kind of gone missing in recent weeks and hasn't played to the level we know he can play. Tonight was vintage Darrell Horgan, as you said earlier on the show, Gally, and it wasn't just from an attacking standpoint. It was everything, defensively, getting back, aggression. Every aspect of his play tonight was superb, and I just thought he was the best player on the pitch tonight. So Darrell Horgan for me, man, the match, no questions. Yeah,
I think it's probably it's the first night in a long time that we've had so many. There isn't really anybody you could have not said. It's one of those nights that. I'm trying to struggle. I do remember one night that we had it's probably gone back to the second season. I would think that we had everybody in the running for a pizza at one stage.
But I'll tell you, if I quickly go through just the names I'm seeing here, right? It's literally going from Shelby with, making a penalty save is pizza worthy of it by itself because there's 30 minutes left in the match.
Yeah.
Loads for Andy Boyle, loads for Mountney. For Robbie Benson, this is all the old school is in, and Darrell Horgan, a lot of the old lads really stepped up tonight. The old crew that we're used to in Oriel Park, and I think that's saying a lot. For what's there. Sorry, Gally, I cut you off there.
No. Quick, fire ahead there if you want to go. Keep going to your man the match if you want. Or I can.
Who did you pick?
I was going to go now. I'll go now if you want, and we can.
Yeah, go for it.
Have a look. There was one or two for me that would have been a little bit higher, but again, we're back to this where Archie Davis I think was excellent as well. Yeah, John Mountney was fantastic.
Yeah,
Darrell
Horgan, for John.
Like I said, Darrell Horgan, like you'd rightly said as well, outstanding. Shelby for the save. Dara Keane went off injured unfortunately, but that's the second time he's only played maybe half a game, and he's probably one of the best players on the pitch for those half a games. If we can get him right every week, he's going to be outstanding football. But for me, I'm a stupidly big fan of Robbie Benson, and when he's at it full flight, I think it's harsh on Darrell Horgan maybe, but just to make it awkward for Chris when he's picking his, Robbie Benson in full flight, the goal is exquisite. I mean, Scott High's had a great. I don't think we mentioned Scott High in man of the match either.
No, I'm surprised.
He has a dreamer of a goal.
Great game, yeah.
Robbie Benson is a Robbie Benson goal. He takes it quick touch out from his feet, left peg. He was outstanding tonight. Darrell Horgan, 100% back to their best, albeit more probably leaning towards Darrell for back to their best. He hasn't been since he signed back in July, but I'm going with Robbie Benson tonight. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Go on,
yeah, right. This is 50-50 now, lads. It's what I'm seeing here. You ain't made this easy for me. A couple of nominations. Zach Johnson in there as well for a solid enough performance in defence. As I said, Mountney, Horgan, Benson. Can you go through some of these? Benson, Horgan, Benson. All right, I think we've got two players probably out in a limb, and that's the two that we've picked here, as well. So I think we'll, God, who do we go? How about we go for Helen for a change? Just I'm going to take one of the newer ones that was in there at the bottom. So well done.
You timed that perfectly, Helen.
So well done. You were a winner of our 15-inch Tony's pizza. So that's on ourselves. So get in contact with Vinny and the lads down at Tony's Pizzeria, and you have a 15-inch pizza on us. That could have gone either way, lads. I'm not going to lie to you on those. But it's just interesting. You know, a lot of people kind of will mention one, but in their comment mentioning how close it was to the other person. You know, Horgan top class tonight, but you know, Mountney was good, or it's you know, Robbie Benson was top class tonight with Horgan a close second or something like that. So it's there wasn't much in that, but like it's nice to see a couple of players kind of all up there, because it kind of shows probably more of shows how well we played tonight for a change, rather than a landslide one way or the other.
And Myrna there congratulating Helen on the pizza. And you can't have some pizza. You can't be half the pizza without trying to scab pizza. All right, don't be big enough. Don't be big enough to win.
Share the thing.
You're not having any. But yeah, look, all in all, positive night, lads. This is what we're looking for.
I'm preferring this without the surprises, Gally.
Yeah, it's nice. It's just look, it's all around positivity. Poor captain, positive Steph isn't here, but yeah, it's just this is what we've been after, isn't it? Last couple of weeks, and everybody's just not so manic now. Off, everybody can sleep now, and they're not high with rage.
Just before we finish up, Niall, have you any indication yet of what the backroom staff could look like? Because I think that was the big question that we all had when Noel King was appointed, was who was he going to be bringing with him? Have you any more indication on that?
No, it doesn't seem he did. It looks as though, you know, Liam Burns is going to stay on as first team coach by the looks of it at the moment. It's unclear at this present moment if he's going to bring in anybody additional to support him. Now, obviously, Brian Gartland and Burnsy were kind of manning the line quite a lot tonight. Mm-hmm. And he has confirmed, like in his post-match presser, that, you know, Liam Burns will be operating as first team coach. Whether he brings in somebody else beside him remains to be seen. But there doesn't seem to be any indication of that just yet. He was very coy and sort of he didn't give too much away in his press conference earlier in the week or today about if there's going to be any change. They will obviously need a goalkeeping coach, obviously, and they will need a kit man, at least in the short term, with an Noel Walsh going through an operation too. So I mean, those are other positions. But in terms of, you know, his coaching team, his immediate coaching team, there doesn't seem to be any imminent change from what we have at the moment. But then again, this time last week, we only just heard that Noel King was coming into the job. So who knows what tomorrow's press release will bring, if there is one, you know. So we can't really.
24 hours are a long day in football, and even longer in Oriel, aren't they?
Yeah, it certainly is. I've never actually seen anything like it in terms of, like, I think we had a 15-minute press conference with Brian Gartland last week in Sligo, and by the time we'd got into the car, we hadn't even left Sligo. And the whole press conference, all the quotes were out of date already. So
15 minutes later,
the biggest waste of a trip I think I've ever had in terms of from a reporting capacity, you know. So could have just done it from home and walked off the press release. But sure, look, we're all experts after the game, lads, you know.
That's it. Gally, just before we finish up as well, I just said that we will give a mention to the Three Little Birds school program, that, you know, Tom O'Connor, who's a friend of the podcast and off and on to defend goalkeepers, you know, that he is helping and is fronting this with the club. You know, I like, how many times have we said we've got to get back into schools and get young people involved? And, you know, I downloaded and actually looked through the PDF that's in it, and there's some really, really good things from them going out into schools and doing some of the futsal skills to, you know, I'm sure, Niall, you'll appreciate this, you know, young kids doing up match reports and, you know, having a bit of input for what our new mascot could look like. Yeah. Like, that's the sort of community engagement that's been sadly missed by this club for a long, long time. So I just think that's such a positive initiative from the club. And I think I've heard something like it's 15 schools have already signed up to be part of this program. So it shows not only is there a hunger from the schools to do these sort of things, but it seems to be there is a hunger from the club. So you know, let's hope that if performance on the pitch turn around, it helps things like this then as well, because more and more of these young people then want to go up to Oriel Park to see this. You know, there's great little questionnaires about who's your favourite Dundalk player and design a crest for the summer camps and stuff like that. So there's literally something from everybody. You don't have to be a diehard fan. You could love any other aspects in and around it, and there seems to be something there. So it seems like a very well and thought through idea as well. So just a quick little mention.
It also gives the and Aoife Bournes. I actually spoke to Aoife face to face tonight. You know, she'll organise the girls as well for Aoife Bournes. Good chef and Jane, did fantastic work. But that, you know, the three little boards, it also raises, you know, gives the green light to the Netflix documentary of the murder of Lily the Panda and what happened to Lily the Panda. If they can get a series going of where did that panda go, because now it's officially been retired, they're going to have to do a docu-series on it for Netflix.
I'm sure it's at the back of the embassy somewhere.
And Simon, just to answer Simon's question, yeah, I don't know if we lost our goalkeeping coach to Bowes, but he is at Bowes now. Yeah,
he is.
He is at Bowes.
He's part of it, and I think Benno stepped into a new role. So
he's in the academy, I think. Yeah, I heard that tonight. I was talking. So yeah, he's in the academy. So yeah, but who cares about Bowes, Simon? You're both Dundalk. Lads, I think that's a wrap, is it?
I think that's it.
Just coming up to midnight.
Our sponsors, just to say thank you.
Yeah, we'll do our not loud village, as I like to slag Chris off every so often. Thank you to our sponsors. Obviously, I won't show my jersey tonight as I have gone old school with a Dundalk jersey. Come on the badge. I'll see it that side of that, folks. So thanks to Niall as well for coming on. Thanks to Steph, Donal and Dean for not showing up. Chris, thanks for coming in twice.
Yeah, I started off in the car and I ended up
in the car and now at home in the kitchen. But look at 300 odd at one stage fans. Thank you to Liam Burns. Thank you to Brian Garland. Thank you to Noel King. You know, this is what it's all about, lads. This is what we are. This is why we have an hour and 19-minute podcast on a Friday night after Tulla win against Bowes. So look at, I think the only thing to really say, boys, is are we Shells next week? Is that what
Shells on Friday?
Yeah. So Shells next week, you know, I suppose we can go back to, you know, no king, no party. Come on to town.